Hi, I'm James. Let's take a look at how to use Air Calendar from zeroqode. Just before we jump into it, if you need any help building your app or product, feel free to reach out to our team by visiting our website at zeroqode.com. We're the largest maker of plugins for Bubble, as well as the top gold tier Bubble agency. We have almost 10 years of experience and can help you build any web, mobile, or AI product, or even help automate your business. While you're there, make sure you check out zeroqode.com/plugins. This is the full list of all the plugins we make, and there's like over 700 of them. So there's something there to cover pretty much everything your app could possibly need to do. For example, there's Stripe Marketplace Express. This helps you accept credit card payments on your app. There's Mapbox Maps, and this gives all sorts of maps functionality. This one's really good for saving on Bubble's hosting costs. This is AWS File Uploader, so you can store your files on your own S3 bucket. There's Air Calendar, there's Air Chat and Messaging. There's so many more there, so definitely explore that and check that out. So the Air Calendar plugin is based on the full calendar library, which is a really customizable, super powerful calendar library. And we pay for an annual license to this so that you can use every feature, all advanced features within your own apps. Now, this plugin can be used for everything from a calendar integration in your existing app to building an entire calendar-based SaaS just around this one plugin. Now, there is a lot this plugin can do, so I really recommend checking out this plugin page as you're building, before you're building, to see all the possibilities here. So the first thing to check out is the live and demo link here. So this will open up a pre-made app with the calendar plugin installed that you can experience and interact with as a user would experience and interact with the plugin. So if we scroll down here, you'll see the calendar element here. Give it a second to load. There we are. So we're looking at the month view. We can change the view to week view, to day view. And within this example app, we can add new appointments. We can edit appointments. We can change all the parameters that we can play with here. There's a lot here that you can explore and see what this plugin can do functionality-wise. As sort of a companion to that, the demo editor link here is that same app, but goes into the actual Bubble editor itself. So you can see how everything's linked together, how it's all built, the settings you can explore, all the customization options you have here for the calendar, as well as workflows here that are specific to the calendar plugin. So you can see what can be customized, what actions you can play with, and the full capability of this plugin before you install it in your own app. Now, really important, especially for a plugin this extensible and powerful, is the documentation link here. Now, this goes into an incredible amount of detail. Like I said, there's a lot this plugin can do. So peruse this, check this out, go through and look at all the options available to you, how it integrates with the database, all the actions and workflows you can look at, how to enable dragging for events, and all the different views and options that are available to you with a plugin this powerful. So between those three there, the live demo, the demo editor, and the documentation there, that should give you everything you need to get a full overview of basic use cases and more advanced use cases for this plugin. But for today, let's build something together. Let's build something basic to get you started and up and running with this plugin. So the first thing we want to do is get this plugin into your Bubble app. So from your Bubble app here, on the left-hand side, click on the plugins tab here. That'll bring you to a screen that looks like this. You won't see Air Calendar here already. I've got this pre-installed. So what you need to do is click Add Plugins in the top right here. And that'll bring up this pop-up. And let's type in Air Calendar. And you'll see this one appear, Air Calendar Full Calendar by zeroqode. Now you'll have two options to install this. You can either do a once-off payment, or you can pay per month. Now, paying monthly is the most risk-free way to try this out, as you're charged on a pro rata basis. So you're only charged for the days that the plugin is installed in your app. So if you install it, you try it out for a day, you remove it one day later, you're only charged for, well, in this case, $8 divided by 30 days in that month. So it's really risk-free, cheap way to try this out. And yeah, give it a go. All right, so once you have that installed, let's have a look at next steps. Now, once you have the plugin installed in your Bubble app, you'll see on the left-hand side here a new element called Air Calendar. This is what we need to drag onto the canvas. So I've made a bit of a test page here. I've got a title. I've got some calendar-specific elements at the top here. And I'm going to drag in the Air Calendar just here onto the canvas. There we go. This is what it'll look like in the editor, but in the actual app, in the preview, in the live version, you'll actually see the calendar itself, the proper calendar view. But once it's on the canvas, this is where you start to customize and control everything with the calendar itself with your properties panel here. So you can see the first two things you need to look at right away are the things in red. So the element needs to know what data source are your events coming from? How are they stored in the database? So let's have a look at that first. Now, to do that, we're going to jump over to our data tab on the left-hand side here. And you'll see I have a data type here called event. Now, there are a few fields that we need in this data type for this to work with the Air Calendar plugin. So first, we need a start and an end date. So these are just fields with data types or field types of date here. So I have a event start, I have an event end, I have an event description, I have an event title, and that's kind of the core of what you need. Now, I've got a few extra things in here that lets us customize this a bit further. I've got the event fill color, the event stroke color, the event title color. So they're just kind of styling elements, and those are text types because we're going to put hex codes in there. And then I've got an event type here. Now, this is completely optional. This is just another way to kind of customize your events and categorize them and style them differently on the calendar. But the core of that is, your event title, your start date, your end date, and then your description if you want that as well. Cool. So we have that in here. We have that in our database. If I go back to the design tab here, we can now start to specify some things. So the type of events is event. Great. The event data source, we're just going to say, do a search for events. Now, we can put some constraints on if there are only certain events you want to show. For this example, I'm just going to keep it as all of our events. Now, for all of these, keep in mind that there is a button here that says show documentation. This will give you a bunch of information as you're going through and setting up a plugin like this. So we can see here it says, typically, this is a result from a search. That tells me we need to do a search to find the data. All right, we've got a few other fields that have appeared now that we've got these two in here. So the ID field, let's check out our documentation button here. For bubble events, use the unique ID field. So every data entry in a database has a unique ID, and that's all we're going to do. We'll go to unique ID because it already knows we're searching for events. So within this search, we'll look for unique ID. That's how it's going to differentiate every single event as a unique entry in the database. Next, we want our start time. We already have what we saw in the database, event start. That's a data type of date. And then we can put the end time in as well, event end. Now that should be everything we need for this to kind of work. We also should put the title in. Every event needs a title. Event title. And let's have a look at the rest of the options we have here. So this is kind of the essentials of setting up these events. The rest we have here, so we've got background color, we've got border color, text color, display type. Now all of these, of course, do have documentation underneath that tells you more about what each one does. So have a look through those. The default view. So I'm going to change this to day, grid, month. So it'll just show a month view for our calendar. We've got some custom views we can set. We can set some settings for the calendar itself. So the starting day, we want Sunday, Monday, and start of the week. Are events draggable? Can we resize the events? Do we include weekend columns? There's so much here to customize and make this fit and work with your exact app. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about this plugin is you can make it feel completely native to your app. You can make this look and behave and feel exactly within the stylings of your app. So you can build an entire app that is a calendar-based app around this plugin, or you can make this fit within an existing app you have and make it feel completely like it belongs there. So have a look through all of these. Reference the documentation, because there is a lot that you can be customizing here. This one as well, owner's time zone. I'm going to put this as local for now, as that's what I'm viewing as the owner of the calendar here. So let's have a look at what this looks like if I press preview. All right, I already had a few entries in my database for the calendar, so we can see them showing here. We have a calendar that's kind of squished in the corner a bit. We've got the default colors, so we can go in and change a bunch of that here. So standard layout controls for a bubble element. Let's take off the fixed width for that. And now we should see a calendar that fills the container. Well, there we go. That's looking better already. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in and make some adjustments and change these stylings myself. I don't want to waste your time with this because obviously everyone's stylings are going to be very different depending on their app. And I'll come back to you in a moment. Okay, so I've made some adjustments here. I've also put in the border color field, the text color field, the background color field to match the hex codes I have in the database for each event. So now if we press preview, we should see something that looks a lot more polished. There we go. So this is now matching the rest of the style of the app I have around here. The same stroke colors, the same text colors, border colors. That's all working quite nicely. Now, let's walk through a few of the workflows that we're going to need to make this function and actually work as a calendar. So what I've done, I've actually connected up a bunch of these, and we'll go through, let's have a look at what they do first. So if we go to the preview here, if I click on week, we see our calendar changes to the week view, and we can go back to the month view. That works nicely. If I click add event, we have a pop-up that shows and lets me add an event in here. So let's just call this one test event. The start date can be, let's say, tomorrow. The end date is also tomorrow, with the start time of 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Now, I've just put 3 random event types here. These correspond to the way I've set it up, the color of each event. So this could be any type of event categorization that your app may need. It could be a certain team within a business. It could be any way to differentiate these events and then show different colors or different fonts or different anything to do with that particular event. So I'll just choose type 2 for this, and I'll say this is a description. I'm not very imaginative today. So this is set for the 28th. So if I press add, there we go. Our test event has appeared on the calendar. And if I click on this now, we should see a pop-up that says test event. We have our date set for the event, the time, and then a description that says this is a description. And I can also delete this event. There we go. It's gone. Cool. So those are the basic functions I've set up, the basic actions. Let's have a look at how they work. So I'm back in our bubble editor. First things, let's look at how we change between week and month. So I'm going to click on the month button here and have a look at the workflow that I've built here. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so when the month button is clicked, we want to change a view of the Air Calendar A. Now, this is the only calendar I have on the page, so it's called Air Calendar A. If you have multiple calendars, name them whichever label makes the most sense, and you can specify them here. And all I'm doing is changing the view from whatever it was previously to month. Now, there are a lot of different views you can change here. There's a lot of actions and workflows you can build within these calendars. So again, documentation is your best friend for more advanced workflows. But for now, we're just looking between the week view and the month view. So that's the workflow. When the month button is clicked, change the view to the month view. I've got a second step here to set the state of the calendar to the view of month. And the reason I've got that is so that, let me move this here, when the month buttons, when the state is month, I want to change the background color so that it looks like month is active. And the same for the week button. When the state is week, the calendar's view is week view, I want the background to change to this here. Now what that actually looks like, see we've got a darker background on month here. If I click week, now the gray background is on week, the gray background is on month, just so that there's some sort of visual feedback for what button is currently active. All right, and similarly, on the week button here, if I have a look at workflow, when the week button is clicked, change the view of the Air Calendar A to a day grid week view. And same thing, set the state of the calendar to week. Cool, nice and easy to switch between views there. Like I said, there are a lot of views you can change here, so have a play around with those and see which one works best for your use case. Next, let's have a look at adding an event. So that's this button here. The workflow I've got when this button is clicked is just to show a pop-up that I've called the add pop-up. So let's see what that looks like. I've got 2 pop-ups here, the add pop-up and the event pop-up. So the add pop-up looks like this. So this is where we basically are creating a new thing in the database. So the thing that's relevant here is an event. We're adding a new event to the database, all the fields we looked at when we looked at the event type, the data type of event. So we have those fields here. We have the event title, we have the event start, date and time, the event end, date and time, 3 options for the event type, a description, and then an add button. So the event name is just a text input field. The start and end fields, though, are time pickers. So you'll see those, there we go, date time picker on the left here. So have those as part of your input fields for adding a new event, and those will then correspond to the data type of date that we have in our database. All right, these ones here are just buttons that I have with states on them so that when we submit it, we can tell which button is active and have a corresponding hex code saved in the database for that. And our event description is just a text field. So this is what we need to have a look at then. So when I click add, let's have a look at the workflow. We want to create a new event. So this is just creating a new thing. Create a new thing here. And the type is just event. Now with that event, we have some fields that we need to obviously add as part of our database. So the event title is the value of the input event titles, the input we saw there. The event start is the start time pickers value. The event end is the end time pickers value. And those here, we can see I've named this one start time picker and end time picker. And then the event description is the input descriptions value. Now I've got a few other steps here. If type 1 is selected, save the event fill color to be this hex code, the event strobe color to be this hex code, and the event title color to be this hex code if the type 1 button is active, and the same for type 2 with different hex codes, and the same for type 3 with different hex codes. And then hide the pop-up and reset the pop-up so that it's ready for adding more events. So let's run through that one more time in an actual workflow, or a real-world workflow, I mean. So if I click Add Event, the pop-up shows, let's say this, which we call this one, let's just call this one lunch. We're going to set this to be on Tuesday, and I'll set the time to be lunchtime, 1 p.m. Tuesday. Let's say it ends at 2 p.m., 2:30. Yeah, I'll have a long lunch. Let's say type 3 for a different color, and I will say sushi for lunch. Go Add, and there we go. Lunch has appeared. It's the color I've set for event type 3. And we have lunch, the day, the time, and the description. All right, so let's look at the next workflows we have here, displaying an event. So I'm going to go back to here, and that is our second pop-up. So we had a look at the first pop-up, the add pop-up. Let's hide that. The second pop-up is the event pop-up. So this will display the data from the currently active event. Now to do that, for this pop-up, I've selected the pop-up itself, event pop-up. The type of content I've set here is event. And the data source is the current calendar that I have on my page. Again, if you have multiple calendars, specify the right calendar. I've only got the one, so I've just called it Air Calendar A. Air Calendar A's current event. And that will then tell this pop-up for all the corresponding text that we're going to put in and description of that, where that data is coming from. It's the currently active event from the calendar, which gets set when you click on the event on the calendar. All right, let's have a look at what we got here. So we have the parent group's events title for the title here. Here we have the parent group's event start time, and I've formatted the date and time to display the way I wanted to display. Same for the time here. Parent group start time formatted as just the time for this one, because we don't need the date when it's displaying the time. And then I put a dash, then I've said the event's end time formatted as the time as well. And then for the description, I've got the parent group event description. Nice and simple. So this is going to display in this pop-up. Let me click the pop-up again. All the information, the data source being the current event from the Air Calendar. So clicking on the Air Calendar's event puts all that the data into this pop-up, and then all the corresponding dynamic data we have here showing corresponds to the currently active event. The last thing that is on this pop-up here is this delete button we saw. So let's have a look at what the workflow is for this. When the delete icon is clicked, I want to delete an event. And just as we saw with what event to display in the pop-up, we want to delete the Air Calendar's current event, the one that's currently active, the one that was made active when I clicked on the event on the calendar. And then I just want to hide the pop-up. All right, now that we know how that works, let's go through it one more time. I'm going to click on, let's say this team meeting's been cancelled. So I'll click on that. By clicking on it, we've put the data source of this pop-up to be the currently active event, and it's now showing team meeting, the times and the dates, the description. And if I click delete here, it's going to delete the Air Calendar's currently active event, which we activated by clicking on an event on the calendar. And it'll remove it from the database, and it's disappeared. Cool. Now there's so much more that this plugin can do. As we're seeing here on the plugin page, you've got the ability to drag events, drag and drop and resize and edit events. You've got multiple views, custom views. You can then specify things by time zones and different locales. You can block out dates. There's so much. This is just the basics to help you set up a calendar and start to add events, remove events, and edit events. So for more advanced use cases, definitely have a play around with the demo that we saw here and the demo editor, because there's a lot here that's built into the demo app that goes a lot further than what we just looked at here. For example, looking at the demo app here, clicking on one of these, we have options to edit the event and save our edits. We can change all the views to all these different views here that are fully customizable. You got timelines, you got week views, you got day views, you got full year views. We can change time zones here to whatever time zone we want the calendar to be displayed in. You can block out certain days so they can't be booked. There's a lot this can do. So I highly recommend having a look through the documentation, the demo apps, and the demo editor here for more advanced use cases. But that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. And if you need any help with this plugin, any questions before you install, while you're installing, trying to get it up and running, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to help you out and help you set up the plugin. All right, happy building.